Jon Kabat-Zinn, the founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction training, describes mindfulness as a moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness cultivated by refining our capacity to pay attention intentionally in the present moment, and then sustaining that attention over time as best as we can. This is how we become more in touch with our life as it unfolds. That means that this practice can only be cultivated by becoming an impartial witness to our own experience. But to do this, we need to catch ourselves in the constant stream of judging and reacting to inner and outer experiences and learn to take a step back from it. How do we do this? First, we need to understand how judgments actually operate. Hello everyone, welcome back to our Shine Collective. My name is Liz, and as usual, we're here to support your conscious evolution through our free emotional well-being series here on YouTube. In the previous video, we talked about mindlessness, the automatic patterns of thoughts and behaviors that we follow without conscious awareness. Judging is one of those patterns, something that we do so often it no longer requires much conscious input. Within a fraction of a second, we form an instant opinion every time we meet someone new. We are quick to call an evening successful or label a feeling as annoying. We judge many things, people, situations, even the weather. But most of all, we judge ourselves, which is no fun. Have you ever wondered why we do this to ourselves and others? We have a few guesses to share with you. Judgment colors reality. Judgments are all about evaluating and labeling. They're like a pair of glasses or a filter through which we see the world. Judgments can come in many forms, but they all play a role in distancing ourselves from that which we judge. Our egoic mind uses this technique as a way to validate its individuality. In other words, judgment occurs when we criticize or condemn someone from a place of moral superiority. It stems from our own limiting beliefs such as, uneducated people are stupid, I'm always unlucky, big boys don't cry, self-care is only for those with too much time on their hands, or social norms, need a college degree to have a good job, need a house to have a home, Christmas is spent with family, the purpose of a woman is to be a mother, things of that sort. Judgments can be directed inwards towards our own feelings and thoughts. For example, when we experience sadness, we may label it as unwanted. In turn, this belief affects the thought that comes with it, often leading to a negative spiral of, I should not be feeling like this, I don't want to feel like this, which only increases the chance of feeling more unpleasant emotions. When we subsequently judge those emotions as bad or wrong, we drag ourselves further into a cycle of worry and rumination we described in the previous video. Judgments can also be directed outwards, such as when we pity someone because of their substantial misfortune. This opinion affects how we interpret their behavior and consequently how we treat them. If we see this person as lesser than, we will likely show them less respect than we would if we were to see them as the sovereign beings they actually are. Judgments are the lens that shape the feelings we develop and influence our experience. The moment we judge, what we see in others is a projection of our own beliefs and not the people we are projecting into. This is why a judgment often says more about the one casting the judgment than about its recipient. No matter how accurate or appropriate a judgment may seem, it is by definition a reflection of our own personal opinions and beliefs. Thus, our judgment of others it's not a true reflection of them, but of the beliefs we hold in ourselves. After all, the person whom we pity because of how we perceive their misfortune may not perceive themselves as such. Perhaps someone who didn't go to college and lives in their car may be intentionally experiencing van life and may have chosen to experience life outside of the social recipe for success. In these examples, the judgment is based on the definition, criteria, or belief we have about who fits into our boxes about what homelessness is and the concept of achievement. Judgment limits reality. A judgment always highlights only one side of any given information. However, reality is much more complex. By labeling something good or bad, we reduce it to just being that, either being good or bad. But nothing is only ever just good or bad. An event that at one point is perceived as difficult or bad, like being fired or dismissed from your job, can later turn out to be a positive change, an opportunity to reorient priorities, a new and better job, or even an opportunity to start your own business. In this case, was the event good or bad? The judgment delineates the area that we associate with our comfort zone. It creates a boundary, a limited space in which reality itself may happen. For example, if we judge a feeling as bad, we limit the moving space of that feeling. That feeling must not move or get worse, while at the same time we wish for it to leave. This approach reduces our feelings experience and perceived complexity, since even negative ones can give us valuable insights. As we look at the example mentioned earlier about living in your car and not going to college, we can see how we have reduced the experience of this complex being into a label. Their lifestyle choices would subsequently be interpreted within our framework of what we are meant to achieve to be seen as successful, indicating the boundary within which this person can move. For example, when they register a success, we are inclined to assign this to luck or the situation. On the contrary, when this person experiences a failure, we will see this instead as a result of their own choices, supporting our idea of this person as an outsider. We ensure that this person fits our judgment without realizing that we're limiting them and ourselves, because we fail to perceive the hidden human behind the projection, and we also fail to expand our comfort zone to learn about a different way to live. Before we continue, we want to illustrate this point by asking you to recall a not-so-great experience that you've experienced recently. When you think about this unpleasant event, tell us, what were the unpleasant aspects of this event? And what were the uncomfortable things that followed from this event? Our minds have been primed for negativity, so this should be an easy answer, albeit a reflection of your suffering. Now we would invite you to focus on the long-term positive aspects and how the experience has benefited you as a person. For instance, how has the experience made you better able to meet future challenges? What did you learn from this experience? And how have you changed or grown as a person due to what you have experienced? In any cases, we find that when we encounter traumatic and painful events, we can grow from them, develop, and become stronger. When we judge something, we ignore the endless complexity of a situation. We miss the other half by focusing on a fraction of it and judging it as wrong. Yet, post-traumatic growth is possible. As time goes on, someone who has developed the ability to see both sides of their story can look back and say, "Oh, this was horrible, and it has also helped me as a person. I have a whole new level of appreciation for the people I love in my life, and it has helped me make wiser choices. It has taught me to trust myself and understand that I am stronger than I believe I was." Cultural or historical differences also clearly illustrate the limitations and biases of judgments. Someone that practices a religion may label someone who doesn't go to church as a sinner or lost soul. Likewise, people who don't subscribe to any particular faith may see devotees as naive for believing in religion. You can also imagine how a person who grows up in an individualistic culture and believes that personal development is the most critical skill to develop can clash with someone from a collectivist culture that is more devoted to their family and community. It is quite fascinating to see how the same event, depending on age, culture, or creed, can be judged differently and thus experienced differently. Judgment creates conflict. An essential factor contributing to the pervasiveness of biased judgments lies in their subjective and inaccurate nature, which is often unbeknownst to the decision maker. We see our own judgment as an objective and accurate reflection of reality, instead of a mere representation of our own personal, environmental, and cultural standards, rules, schemas, norms, and opinions. When judgments are negative, the inability to see through their relative and subjective nature can harm our well-being. While judging, a comparison is made between how reality is perceived and how we believe reality should be according to our personal and societal norms, rules, and beliefs. For instance, suppose you just lost a loved one and feel sad. You want to cry, but you have been taught that crying is a sign of weakness, so you withhold your tears because you don't want to disappoint your family. By judging your sadness as bad, you begin experiencing some resistance towards that feeling. The sadness is there, but it is bad and therefore undesirable. The moment something is judged as unwanted or bad, a conflict arises between how things are now bad and how things should be good. Not only can this conflict cause you to feel drained and upset as you increase your effort to get rid of this undesirable feeling, but it also encourages you to avoid or escape it, which, as we have discussed previously, it's not a long-term solution. So, what is the solution? Stick around for the next video to find out. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.